Unfortunately, a dangerous setup ahead in the jet stream for California with intense Santa Ana winds into Southern California all week long, folks, with critical, if not almost extreme fire risk continuing for them, unfortunately. And further off into the southeast, we'll be watching a disturbance that will impact that area, especially early on in the week. And then we'll be watching cross-polar flow continuing to pump colder air, especially there into the Great Lakes, bringing more snow showers for them. And then the big change arrives into next weekend with the first shot of Arctic air. And there could be even a bigger piece of Arctic air that will be trailing behind that one. So if you are new to the channel and like detailed weather breakdowns, hit the subscribe button and you're in. You get all my daily content on this channel to keep you well ahead of the storm. So here are some of the winds just over the next 48 hours. Obviously, the fire risk continuing for Southern California. Unfortunately, 16 fatalities so far. Just very sad conditions. I mean, I've looked at the precipitation over the last 6 months for Southern California. There's been hardly none, folks. Now we have a dangerous setup with Santa Ana winds, and the jet stream is just unfortunately an ideal setup for critical fire risk to continue, not just for this weekend, but much of early next week. And that could actually even extend into all week long, folks. This is a very dangerous setup with continuing high winds and very dry conditions and low humidity. So further off into the east, then we'll be watching another little disturbance that will likely impact the southeast. But further north, we'll have another disturbance. This will be a clipper system that will continue to bring the colder shots of air and some snow for you guys for the Great Lakes. And you can actually see what we're talking about here on the vorticity map. Yeah, there's the potential setup with the overall disturbance that's going to impact the southeast for those areas into Louisiana, Mississippi, back into areas of Alabama into Georgia. And then of course we've got that little clipper system that will drop down from Canada that will increase the lift, bringing more snow showers for them, but also another little piece of much colder air, especially in the beginning of the week. So there's the precipitation over the next 2 days. We'll have that disturbance that will come in tomorrow, going into Monday. Some of these areas across Louisiana, southern portions of Mississippi, into Alabama, back into the Florida Panhandle, especially southern areas of Georgia, would likely pick up a ½ inch. Some wider, larger amounts of 1, possibly up to 2 inches of rainfall. And then further north, that green is actually going to be snow that's going to be cold enough up here into the Great Lakes. So, but the huge concern in the week ahead is the continued fire risk for those areas across the Southern California. Yes, we're going back to critical, if not extreme conditions, especially Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Yeah, it's just a dangerous setup for Riverside, back into Oxnard, back into Santa Clara, back into Rancho Cucamonga. Yeah, those areas will just be devastated with intense Santa Ana winds, the very dry vegetation, and the low humidity with just a very, very dangerous setup. So just a huge concern with that area. It just doesn't seem to have much relief whatsoever. But off into areas across the north central U.S., back into Ohio, getting into West Virginia, will bring really much colder conditions for those areas, especially as we get into Tuesday with that little clipper system that will be dropping down. So by Wednesday morning, it's going to be cold, folks. Yeah, I mean, there's already got negative numbers continuing for low temperatures by Wednesday, the 15th of January. We've got single digits highlighted across Missouri. We could be even having some isolated spots into Indiana being below 0. This is actual temperature. This isn't actually feels like, folks. And then West Virginia could wake up and it was 6 degrees, teens across Tennessee, even widespread 20s. And across it, even further south into the southeast, with checking in at 25 degrees for those areas into Oklahoma City. But there's your overall snow that will likely unfold between now and say Thursday with the clipper system. We're not expecting much. Remember, we had that big winter storm that went through, so the overall atmosphere is resetting, if you will, waiting for the big event that looks to arrive into next week. So we'll be breaking down those details. But before that, we will have a rebound in temperatures, especially in Thursday into Friday, as that Clipper system will be moving out into the northeast by then. Back behind it, much warmer air will be moving in across the south with the south and southwest winds. So as we get Thursday, will be warmer, but especially I think Friday is going to be like your peak warmest day across the board for much of the lower 48, anticipating before that next shot of much colder air that will be coming back in the picture. So for overall, the precipitation between now and Friday, with kind of a lull in the atmosphere in the week ahead, we really don't have much. We just have those two disturbances, right? We have one across the southeast that will be impacting those areas earlier on in the week. And then we have the Clipper system that will bring some snow. But outside of that, it's pretty dry, folks, and pretty quiet, and much pleasant conditions will be ahead. But all that changes big time by the time we head into Saturday morning. So you can definitely see the warmer temperatures trying to surge further north, but there's the colder shot of air. Not just we have one that will be coming out of Canada, we'll have another one that's already looking to build even further north. That's going to come back through as well with kind of a 1-2 punch. So this would be starting on next weekend. So the first initial blast of Arctic air would likely plunge southbound across the plains. And considering the source of where this is coming from, this would likely be the coldest air mass of the season that we have seen so far. And this, at least this first shot, looks to come right down the heart of the middle part of the country across the plains. And this would likely plunge all the way down into Mexico, folks. So there you have it. By Saturday afternoon, we've got temperatures a good 20 to 25 degrees below average. We're already in the heart of winter. We're in the coldest time of winter. So when you're seeing temperatures of already 25, 30 degrees below average, which you would typically be, which is already cold, you know that's going to be a very cold period across the lower 48 heading into that time frame of the 20th. So Arctic air will be in place. So you'll have that initial surge. There's your freezing line by Saturday morning. So you'll have the surge out ahead of it and then a trailing disturbance back behind it. That's crucial because that's kind of a similar type setup than what we saw just previously with that first winter storm. So, colder air went through, and then we had a disturbance that built back out west. And this is kind of a similar setup, if you will, but this one looks to be much colder and plunging much further south as well. So that means more areas will be colder. Yeah, we're talking 13 below zero by the time we wake up on Monday, the 20th. Will be 13 below in Denver. So that is definitely the coldest air mass of the season. 11 for those areas in Oklahoma City, 18 in Dallas, 24 in San Antonio. We haven't seen those temperatures yet this far south this winter. And there's the disturbance that will be trailing behind this one. So yeah, it's getting kind of interesting as we head into that part of, the following week on the 20th time frame with the lead disturbance of Arctic air arriving. And then we got the disturbance that's going to be trailing back behind it, building, creating the lift that would likely bring more precipitation that falls into the Arctic air. That's why the Climate Prediction Center has already kind of highlighted a huge swath of precipitation, and this could be in the form of frozen precipitation with even some heavy snows mixed in at times coming down through the Rockies, through New Mexico, areas into Texas, back into Oklahoma, get into Kansas, into Arkansas, Missouri, back into Illinois, through Tennessee and Kentucky into West Virginia. And this would just likely swing up in New England, as we head into that 18th and 20th time frame. But as we get closer to this time frame, more confidence will be hinting at it could be even lifting even further south than what you're actually seeing. So yes, a very dynamic setup, and all that comes to fruition. Yes, we could be having Arctic air plunging all the way down into the deep south. Look at the freezing line potentially by Monday morning with that trailing disturbance. So any precipitation that would fall, it would likely be in the form of snow, because all layers of the atmosphere would likely be cold enough, versus last time it was only 34, 35 degrees. You had some rain, you had freezing rain, you had sleet. Now we're talking a good 5 to even possibly 10 degrees colder potentially as that system will be dropping all the way further south as well. So don't take this verbatim. This is more of a pattern recognition right now, but just kind of gives you an idea of that Arctic air in place. And then we got a trailing disturbance that's going to trail it back behind it. So we had that first system that left some snow as far south as southern Arkansas, didn't quite make Shreveport. It made northern portions of Mississippi. It made portions of, say, Birmingham and into Atlanta. Look at this one. Could be a little bit further south for those areas as it swings up the eastern seaboard. And then we'll be watching another piece of Arctic air. So this is the back half of the first shot. So whatever precipitation that would likely fall, it may not, thaw out, right? So we'll have cold air continuing to remain in place. And then we have another shot that's just now going to be starting to enter Canada. So you got the first disturbance that will likely be moving up the eastern seaboard by the time we move into the 21st time frame, bringing more snow showers for the Carolinas through Virginia, as well as into Delaware, back into New Jersey. And then we'll have the second piece of Arctic air pushing more snow, arriving with that second piece of colder air, and that just creates the cold. This is the first piece trying to modify. So as soon as you think it's starting to modify, by the Wednesday, the 22nd time frame, you've got that reinforcing shot of Arctic air plunging southbound, and this would likely be the coldest temperatures of the season. Yeah, I mean, so we have that initial Arctic blast, and then we could potentially have a second Arctic blast dumping all the way down into the deep south, all the way to Mexico, folks, and even in the southeast and much of the Carolinas could see likely the coldest temperatures of winter. So guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch my next update where I protect you before and after the storm.